Louis Riddick, who is a former personnel guy in a couple of organizations' front office, currently on ESPN. He was on the Dan Patrick Show. Interesting perspective with what he thinks relative to Myles Garrett.
That situation has so many other tentacles because I just get the feeling that Andrew Berry's not doing anything in a vacuum. He's being told what to do. But I would strongly suggest to the people who ultimately make that decision, if it wasn't just all mine on my own, I would say, hey, look, we need to consider moving him.
Okay.
Because we need help. And as much as that sucks, because he's one of the greatest players in the history of this franchise, we have to move him. And quite honestly, I would then want to have another conversation, Dan, which is how have we gotten to the point where a guy who we drafted and we developed here in-house, who is beloved in Cleveland, all of our fan base can't blame. They don't blame him. They would say they would want out too. How have we gotten to the point where our best players don't want to stay here anymore? Like that's an even bigger issue for them. That I don't know. Maybe Jimmy Haslam wants to have those conversations. Maybe he doesn't, but he needs to, because if he doesn't, good luck getting a new stadium. Good luck getting that fan base to rally behind you when you're alienating a guy who is a truly, one of the best pass rushers that this game has ever seen.
Tim, it's an interesting question, and as I heard him say that, I'm like, yeah, that's a problem. And how did we get here? The Deshaun Watson trade didn't work.
Yeah. Not only did it not work, just look where it put them. We all thought, this team had playoff aspirations, even Super Bowl aspirations, and 2024 went as bad as you could possibly have imagined. Not just the Browns going 3-14, but Deshaun Watson having the Achilles injury and then re-injuring that same Achilles, possibly costing him his entire 2025 season, and really just the offense just completely collapsing and really looking broken from almost the start of the season. And when you have that sort of thing, it just creates such a bad feeling. And to have a situation where you go from a team that's expected to compete for the playoffs to tied for the worst record in the NFL, you have the worst offense in the NFL, and you basically never had really any good play from that position. It's a trickle-down effect. When your offense can't stay on the field, then your defense is getting exhausted and they're giving up big plays. They're feeling like they have to play harder because they have to do everything in their power to keep them in the game, knowing they're not going to get much from the offense. So it's all a trickle-down effect from just bad quarterback play for pretty much most of the entire 17-game season. And you still got 2 years of that Deshaun Watson contract. You still got cap to maneuver for these last 2 years. I know they redid some of the deal to push out some of the cap down the road, but this is just the effect of what happens when you have that kind of a big miss at the quarterback. And it made some sense at the time. You could understand it, but for the Browns, I don't think you could have imagined a worse outcome than what it's been.
No, I'm sure you looked at a worst case scenario, and it's probably worse than the worst case scenario you looked at when you made that trade.